I realised something uncomfortable. The more advice I listened to, the worse my decisions became. Too many opinions and too much noise. This video is about the one thing I learned that helped me to protect my peace. There's people in your life that always have an opinion, and they really do mean well. They're always offering you their advice, but what they're really doing is projecting their own fears and their own experiences. And you carry it with you when you're trying to relax, when you're trying to get peace, and that's the constant noise. The conversation ends, but the noise doesn't. Most advice comes from people's fear, their insecurities, and the choices they've made in their life. And people are protecting their own choices. But they're not talking about your life. They're talking about what scares them, the things that they think they couldn't do. But that fear lands in your head. Most advice says more about them than it does about you. Now, if you're of a certain vintage, such as myself, you might remember a programme on the BBC from what I remember being the 70s and 80s, and it was called Points of View. And that programme was basically where people used to write in and complain or praise a BBC programme that they'd seen recently. And to be able to put that complaint forward, they'd have to handwrite the letter, walk to the post office, buy a stamp, post the letter, and then they've still got to wait to see if the BBC would read out their letter during the programme. Now, that friction made sure that those people weren't reacting emotionally. They'd thought about what they wanted to say, whether you agreed with it or not. And that's what's been removed in recent times. When friction disappeared, emotion has taken over. With the digital age, we can communicate at our fingertips instantly. And people express themselves instantly via emotion. They haven't had time and friction to slow them down and make them think about what they want to say. And that can manifest itself on the internet. And we can apply this to real life. Because when you're asking people for advice, they're reacting emotionally. If they had time to go away and think about what their responses would be, they might actually answer differently and actually give you a more constructive opinion. And this is something we need to be wary of, because for a long time, I took everyone's emotional responses to my asking for advice on board, and everyone's got a different piece of advice. And in the end, you're like, what do I do with this? I don't know what to do. I've got 3 different opinions from 3 different people. Unless somebody's an expert in one particular field, why would you ask somebody else's advice? They might have your best interests at heart. But their fears, as I've said before, are not your guidance. It's based on their life, on their experiences. So this is very important to remember, that this isn't personal. These people often care about you deeply and they think they're doing the right thing. But it's how we deal with it that matters. Without this filter, emotion goes straight from brain to mouth or to keyboard. So what I'm trying to say here is, not all opinions deserve space in your head. You don't need to blow your life up like a massive explosion. Something anyone can implement without too much fear or trauma is to downsize on some negativity in your life. And that could mean reducing exposure to people that drain your energy. But these are not bad people, but you probably work with some of them, or you've got some in your family or somebody you know, you hang around in a group. And when you come away from an interaction with them, you feel like your soul's been sucked out of you. They just suck your energy because it's either negativity, judgment. And there's people, they thrive off of that. That's their life. They're probably happy in that environment. It's not your burden to listen to them draining your energy. So you just need to reduce your exposure to them people. And that's easy to do. They've just got this ability to drain people's life force, if you like. And there's plenty of people like that. Just eliminating that protects you from that cortisol race, that stress that you feel when you walk away. So when you realise you don't have to consider everyone's opinion, you don't have to take on board their advice. You can listen, you can be polite, but not let it enter your peace, not let it confuse you. Why let somebody else's opinion confuse your clarity and your peace? So when you stop taking on other people's opinions, your head feels lighter. Your peace improves, and with peace comes clarity. So I can listen, but I don't have to carry it. And I've been found guilty of this as well. People ask my opinion, and I'll give them my opinion from my point of view. And that's not fair. So I've learnt another way of dealing with this that helps everyone come to a resolution that will actually help these people, or help that person, or help yourself. And that's just asking questions. Something as basic as that, yeah. And all you do is if somebody tells you what they're thinking of, you just say, oh, and why? What will happen if this occurs? And where do you see that going in 1 year's time? And just keep asking questions, open questions, and they'll keep answering. And what happens miraculously is that they'll come to their own conclusion, and it'll be the right conclusion because they've explored it in their own mind. You've just been the vehicle to help them get there. Because deep down you can take away that you really helped that person come to their own decision. And there's nothing more satisfying than coming to your own decision and not having to carry other people's fears, other people's insecurities around with you, which basically can stop you living your life in a way that would be more fulfilling, a much more beautiful existence. You'll be surprised when people aren't being told what to do. They will open up more. They will recognise subconsciously that you're trying to help them. And as the realisations come, you'll see it click. And this is the part people often miss. When you carry other people's opinions, fears, and noise for long enough, it doesn't just affect how you think, it affects how you feel. You just need to create space. And once you create space, there lies clarity. And once you have clarity, everything else becomes clearer. And feeling burning out, is a signal. That's not failure. Don't think of it as failure. It's a signal. And it's up to you if you listen to it. It's a way your body telling you and your mind, this way of life no longer sustains you. Let's think about doing something about it. And that's why I think this matters. And I always call this like protecting your peace. Because your peace is everything. Because that's what gives you space. That's what gives you clarity. I have time to think now. I come up with ideas. They're not all perfect because I'm not perfect. But having that clarity gives me drive. It gives me that momentum that I used to feel when I was younger, when I had drive and momentum in my career. Another good way is questioning the defaults, the kind of expected behaviours and patterns that we all live by. Just question them, don't fight them. Just, push back a bit on. You'll be surprised when you have more input into your defaults in life. When you feel like you're gaining control, you don't fix burnout by putting in more effort. You'll fix it by removing what no longer belongs. If any of this feels familiar, you're not broken. It means you're paying attention, and that's where change usually starts. So one of the most useful tools I've learned in my life is to remain curious and not be judgmental. If you remain curious, you'll learn more, you'll help people more, you'll become a better version of yourself without really even trying. Because curiosity will slow down reactions and reduce that friction that I've been speaking about. Because just by remaining curious, you tend to listen more. And that alone can protect your peace. Curiosity will calm things down, and judgment fires things up. Hopefully, something in this video will just help you protect your peace just a little bit more. And if you found this video useful, consider watching this next video. Until the next time.